conflict between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas. The conflict has its roots in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which dates back to the early 20th century. The current dynamics of the conflict are complex and multifaceted, with several factors contributing to the escalation of violence. The conflict has drawn in outside powers and destabilized the wider Middle East. In early October 2023, war broke out between Israel and Hamas, the militant Islamist group that has controlled Gaza since 2006. The offensive launched from Gaza represents a major failure of Israeli intelligence and is likely to have long-lasting repercussions. The root cause of the conflict is the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, including the West Bank and Gaza Strip, which has been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians. The Israeli settlements in the West Bank, the blockade of Gaza, and the status of Jerusalem are other major sources of tension. The current escalation of violence began when Hamas launched a massive military operation into Israeli territory, which was followed by an attack by land, air, and sea. The conflict is far from over, and it is completely unpredictable as to how it will progress. In times like there, we, as citizens of a global world, should have all the information, and so this video will go over all the root causes of the conflict, as well as the current dynamics as of writing this video. We will examine the historical context of the conflict, the political and economic factors that have contributed to the escalation of violence, and the potential outcomes of the conflict. The first thing we need to get into, why this conflict even began. The war today has its roots in the early 20th century, when the Zionist movement began to advocate for the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. Here, we need to talk about the Balfour Declaration. It was issued by the British government in 1917 and promoted an idea of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. This was right around the time of World War, and a lot of Jewish immigrants made their way to the region in hopes of a better life. After World War II and the Holocaust, international pressure rallied for a Jewish state in Palestine. This was what finally led to the creation of Israel in 1948. But it came at a huge cost in the form of the War of Independence. The Israeli War of Independence, also known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, was a significant event in the history of the Middle East. The war broke out when 5 Arab nations invaded territory in the former Palestinian Mandate, immediately following the announcement of the independence of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948. The United States had offered de facto recognition of the Israeli Provisional Government in 1947, and again on May 14, 1948. But during the war, the United States maintained an arms embargo against all belligerents. The United Nations resolution sparked conflict between Jewish and Arab groups within Palestine. Fighting began with attacks by irregular bands of Palestinian Arabs attached to local units of the Arab Liberation Army, composed of volunteers from Palestine and neighboring Arab countries. These groups launched their attacks against Jewish cities, settlements, and armed forces. After Israel declared its independence on May 14, 1948, the fighting intensified, with other Arab forces joining the Palestinian Arabs in attacking territory in the former Palestinian Mandate. On the eve of May 14th, the Arabs launched an air attack on Tel Aviv, which the Israelis resisted. This action was followed by the invasion of the former Palestinian Mandate by Arab armies from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Egypt. British trained forces from Transjordan eventually intervened in the conflict, but only in areas that had been designated as part of the Arab state under the United Nations partition plan. The war was fought along the entire long border of the country, against Lebanon and Syria in the north, Iraq, and Transjordan, renamed Jordan during the war, in the east, and Egypt in the south. The war lasted for 2 years and ended with armistice agreements signed in 1949 between Israel and 4 Arab states. The war had significant implications for the region and the world, as it was the first of 4 major Arab-Israeli wars fought over Israel's legitimacy or geographic size. The war crystallized an already emerging Palestinian Arab national desire to wrest Palestine from Israel's Zionist founders. The state of Israel emerged in the shadows of the Holocaust, and its survival was a terrible stain on contemporary Arab history. The Arab world continued to oppose Israel through war, economic boycott, international political isolation, and armed guerrilla attacks. The Palestinians have long sought to establish an independent state in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, with East Jerusalem as its capital. In 2007, Hamas, a Palestinian Islamist group, seized control of the Gaza Strip from the Fatah movement, which is led by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Hamas is considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the United States, and the European Union. Since then, there have been 4 major wars between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. In 2008, 2012, 2014, and 2021, in each war, Israel has carried out airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, while Hamas has fired rockets at Israel. The conflict has had a devastating impact on the people of both Israel and the Gaza Strip. Thousands of people have been killed and injured, and millions have been displaced from their homes. The conflict has also had a significant economic impact on both sides. But that begs the question, just why is there so much conflict? What are the root causes behind this latest war? And why is the conflict not being resolved in spite of the best efforts of international bodies? Root causes of the conflict. 1. Occupation is one of the root causes of the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, including the West Bank and Gaza Strip, has been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians. The occupation began in 1967 after the Six-Day War, and it has continued to this day. Israel has built settlements in the West Bank, which are considered illegal under international law. The settlements have been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians, as they have been built on land that the Palestinians claim as their own. The settlements have also been a major obstacle to the establishment of a Palestinian state, as they have fragmented the West Bank and made it difficult to create a contiguous Palestinian territory. The occupation has also led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes, and it has severely restricted the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza. The blockade of Gaza by Israel and Egypt has also been a major source of tension, as it has severely restricted the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza. The blockade has been in place since 2007, and it has had a devastating impact on the people of Gaza, who are unable to access basic necessities such as food, water, and medical supplies. The occupation and the blockade are one of the biggest reasons of the rise of Hamas, a Palestinian Islamist group that has controlled Gaza since 2006. Hamas is considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the United States, and the European Union. The group has launched several attacks on Israel, including the recent attack that led to the current escalation of violence. The root causes of the conflict are complex and multifaceted, with several factors contributing to the escalation of violence. The conflict has drawn in outside powers and destabilized the wider Middle East. U2, the Israeli settlements in the West Bank are considered illegal under international law and have been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians. The settlements have been built on land that the Palestinians claim as their own, and they have fragmented the West Bank, making it difficult to create a contiguous Palestinian territory. The settlements have also been a major obstacle to the establishment of a Palestinian state, as they have made it difficult to create a viable Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. The settlements have been expanding rapidly in recent years, with more than 500,000 Israelis now living in the West Bank. The expansion of the settlements has been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians, as it has made it increasingly difficult to create a viable Palestinian state. The settlements have also been a major obstacle to peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, as the Palestinians have refused to negotiate, while the settlements continue to expand. The settlements have also been a major source of tension between Israel and the international community, as they are considered illegal under international law. The settlements have been condemned by the United Nations, the European Union, and many other countries. These settlements have also been a major obstacle to the establishment of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has been the goal of peace negotiations for many years. The settlements have contributed greatly to the rise of Hamas, a Palestinian Islamist group that has controlled Gaza since 2006. The settlements have been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians, and they have been a major cause of the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. 3. The blockade of Gaza by Israel and Egypt has been a major root cause of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Since 2007, Israel has imposed an air, land, and sea blockade on the Gaza Strip, saying the move was necessary to prevent Hamas attacks on the country. The blockade has had a devastating impact on the people of Gaza, who are unable to access basic necessities such as food, water, and medical supplies. The United Nations and international human rights groups have condemned the blockade and have described Gaza as the world's largest open-air prison. Residents of Gaza are surrounded by concrete walls and barbed wire fences, unable to leave the territory without Israeli-approved permits. The blockade has also contributed to the rise of Hamas, a Palestinian Islamist group that has controlled Gaza since 2006. Hamas is considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the United States, and the European Union. The group has launched several attacks on Israel, including the recent attack that led to the current escalation of violence. The blockade has also contributed to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes, and it has severely restricted the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza. The blockade has been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians, and it has contributed to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. The blockade has also had a significant impact on the international community, as it has been condemned by the United Nations and many other countries. The blockade has contributed to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, and it has had a devastating impact on the people of Gaza. 4. Jerusalem is a root cause of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Palestinians want East Jerusalem, which includes sites sacred to Muslims, Jews, and Christians, to be the capital of their state. The status of Jerusalem is a highly contentious issue, as both Israelis and Palestinians claim the city as their capital. The city is home to some of the holiest sites in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, including the Western Wall, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the Dome of the Rock. As I mentioned before, the conflict over Jerusalem dates back to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, when Israel captured West Jerusalem and Jordan captured East Jerusalem. In 1967, Israel captured East Jerusalem, along with the West Bank and Gaza Strip, in the Six-Day War. Israel has since annexed East Jerusalem, a move that has been widely condemned by the international community. The annexation of East Jerusalem has been a major source of tension between Israel and the Palestinians, as it has made it difficult to establish a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. The conflict over Jerusalem is a complex issue that has contributed to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. 1. Arab-Israeli normalization. The acceleration of Arab-Israeli normalization has been a major factor in the current escalation of violence between Israel and Hamas. In recent years, Arab leaders have become less keen on pressuring Israel on the Palestinian issue, and they have been more willing to engage with Israel on issues such as security and economic cooperation. This has diminished the significance of the Palestinian issue for Arab leaders, and it has made it more difficult for the Palestinians to achieve their goals. Hamas felt compelled to act due to this changing regional dynamic, as it saw its position being further marginalized. The normalization of relations between Israel and Arab states has been a major obstacle to the establishment of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has been the goal of peace negotiations for many years. 2. Hamas attack. The current escalation of violence began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched a massive military operation into Israeli territory. The shooting of thousands of rockets into Israel was followed by an attack by land, air, and sea with fighters. The attack was unprecedented in its depth and magnitude, and it took Israel by surprise. The attack was a reaction to changing regional dynamics and the acceleration of Arab-Israeli normalization. Hamas felt compelled to act due to the diminishing significance of the Palestinian issue for Arab leaders who became less keen on pressuring Israel on this matter. Hamas was also emboldened after it managed to repair its ties with Iran. The attack has led to a significant escalation of violence, with Israel declaring war on Hamas and launching a massive military operation in response. Upon Iran's support, Hamas was emboldened after it managed to repair its ties with Iran. In recent years, Hamas had to reconsider the political position it assumed in the wake of the Arab Spring in 2011 in opposition to Iran and its ally, the Syrian regime. However, Hamas's realignment with the resistance axis does not necessarily mean there will be a united front on the ground confronting Israel. Hezbollah, for example, has not joined the fight. Currently, domestic politics in Lebanon are not conducive to a conflict with Israel, which is holding the Lebanese group back. Iran's support for Hamas has been a major source of tension between Iran and Israel, and it has contributed to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. 2. Israeli response. Israel has declared war on Hamas after this unprecedented attack by air, sea, and land. Israel is a vastly superior power, and while war plans never survive first contact with the enemy, the military outcome of this one is hardly in doubt. Israel has launched a massive military operation in response to the Hamas attack, and it has carried out airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. The Israeli response has been criticized by the international community, which has called for an immediate ceasefire. The conflict has had a devastating impact on the people of both Israel and the Gaza Strip, with thousands of people killed and injured, and millions displaced from their homes. 3. International impact. The conflict has the potential to disrupt the world economy and even tip it into recession if more countries are drawn in. The continued occupation, the end of any hope for a two-state solution, and the ongoing violence will continue to have a destabilizing effect on the region. The conflict has drawn in outside powers and destabilized the wider Middle East. The international community has called for an immediate ceasefire and has condemned the violence on both sides. The conflict has also had a significant impact on the international community, as it has led to an increase in anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim sentiment in many countries. The conflict has highlighted the need for a peaceful resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it has underscored the importance of international cooperation in achieving this goal. The Israel-Hamas conflict is a complex and multifaceted conflict with deep roots in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The current escalation of violence is the result of several factors, including the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, the Israeli settlements in the West Bank, the blockade of Gaza, and the status of Jerusalem. The conflict is about to enter a more destructive phase, and the outcome of the war is uncertain. There are several possible outcomes of the conflict, ranging from a degraded and potentially destroyed Hamas to an international intervention and a ceasefire. Whatever mediation happens between Israel and Hamas, eventually, it is unlikely to address the root causes of the conflict. This means the Palestinian-Israeli conflict will continue to fester and have a destabilizing effect on the region. But hopefully one day, there will finally be a conclusion to this bloody conflict and an end to this chapter of painful history.